Hi ladies, this is Ashley Janae, love and relationship coach, and I'm on my way to have dinner with some friends, but I wanted to come on and speak briefly about something I've noticed with a few of the clients I've been working with. And my thinking is that if those clients are dealing with it and it's kind of a pattern or a theme, that the other women who are drawn to me or drawn to my work or my content are probably also dealing with those same things. So what I want to speak about is when you're first getting back into the dating scene and you're on the apps, you're open, you're really looking for, men to build up your rotation. I want to discourage women from dating men who are not within their local vicinity. I know that in this day and age, we can hop on a plane or we can hop in the car and drive for hours. However, it's really not ideal for you to be trying to date someone who is more than an hour away. And I say this because I'm sure there are men who are closer to you, who want to date you regularly, who want to spend time with you, that you can be giving a chance to. I believe that when women are interested in men who don't live nearby, who live in different states, men who are not truly available to them, it's actually a sign of their own emotional unavailability. And I say this because so much of a real relationship involves being together. I know that when you're dating someone or you're communicating with someone, because you're really not dating them if, you're not going out on dates. But if you're involved with someone and they live far away and you guys spend a lot of time on the phone, I know you can get close because you're having those conversations. You are learning about each other and you get to kind of remove the physical element. So for a lot of women, that actually feels better because there's less pressure around that. However, 90% of communication is nonverbal. So there is a level of relationship and intimacy that you're not reaching because you're not in the same proximity, because you're not around each other. And that's important. And I find that a lot of time, if women have not been in a real relationship in a while, they forget that. They forget that the in-person element, the spending time together regularly, part of a relationship is essential. It's important. I've known women who've been in long-distance relationships for years, but they really didn't know their partner like that because they just didn't have enough time together in person. And on some level, because they were insecure, emotionally unavailable, afraid of intimacy, afraid of being vulnerable in love, they wanted a man who was only partially available. So they didn't want a full-blown relationship. They were okay with just a relationship by phone, or just a relationship where we only see each other once a month or once every quarter or whatever. But if you're really wanting marriage, if you're really wanting to build a life with a man, you need to spend a lot of time together to get to know each other. And that time needs to be spent in person, not by phone, not on video chat. It needs to be FaceTime. You need to be with him. You need to be around him. You need to feel his essence. He needs to be in your space. You need to be in his space. You need to be sharing that intimate time together. And I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about being around each other. That's important. Okay. And if we want to keep it real, if you're over 30, over 35, really even younger than that, but definitely if you're over 30, most men are not trying to be celibate, especially if they're not like super religious or choosing that path because of their moral code or spiritual beliefs. But most men are not trying to be celibate or abstinent. So considering that, do you really want to be in a relationship with a man who is not even close enough to kiss you regularly, let alone do all of the other things he's going to want to do with you, with the woman that he loves, with the woman that he's into. Like, no, you are kind of setting yourself up for disappointment if you think that a man is going to be like you and just want to save himself and be in love with a woman but not be able to touch her, hold her, squeeze her, enjoy the benefits of having her close to him. Like, that's not what men are looking for. They're not interested in that. So with that considered, you really don't want to start up something where you're too far away to kind of build those moments, to enjoy those things together. So I just want to invite you to consider, if you're someone who has said before, oh, well, I'm planning to move, or I'm okay if he doesn't live in this state or whatever. I want you to really rethink that, because you could be setting yourself up for another, it's complicated relationship that gets stalled and doesn't end up going anywhere. Because again, you need that in-person intimacy. You need that close proximity in order to really build and advance. And even couples that are long distance and decide to move, they still need that time in person to really get comfortable with each other. If you've asked them, a lot of them will tell you it was awkward. Even though this is someone they've been in a relationship with for 6 months, it was still weird when they were finally in person, because they weren't used to it, because it was new, because they didn't know what it was like to be in that person's energy physically. And it took some getting used to. And there was a lot about that person that they didn't know, that they had to discover from being around them in person. So considering that, I would not advise a woman who's really serious about finding a husband, getting in a committed relationship, to date men who are not close enough to date you regularly. Generally, I would say an hour drive is fair and reasonable. Maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. Even that's kind of far, but if he likes you enough, I'm sure, he'll make it work. But really, anything outside of that, if you got to get on a plane, if you got to be in the car for multiple hours just to get together, seeing somebody on a weekly basis who you're that far from is going to be a challenge. It's going to come up. It's going to eventually be something you have to talk about, sort out, or it's going to be a barrier. And by the time you have that discussion, you're probably already going to be in your feelings. You're already going to be attached to this man, and you're going to be trying to figure out how to make it work. Instead of just having the standard from the get-go that, hey, I'm not going to get involved with men who don't live close enough to me to date me regularly, because I desire to go on dates. I desire a full-blown regular relationship with someone who is close by, who can see me, spend time with me, date me, get to know my family, really be incorporated in my life. Not someone who I have to build a relationship with over the phone. Okay, and if you're wanting someone you can build a relationship with over the phone, if you feel like, oh, well, that's okay, I don't mind, then I really want to invite you to look at where you may be afraid of a regular relationship. If you truly even have the emotional capacity or the desire for an intimate relationship like marriage, where you are together all day, every day. I mean, not all day, obviously you go to work and stuff, but outside of that, where you're together all the time, where you're with this person day in and day out. Can you really handle that? Are you ready? Is there a part of that that scares you? Is there a part of a man knowing you on a deeper level that you're afraid of? And is that why you're maybe trying to keep a man at arm's length? Why you want a man who's not really that close to you, who's not going to be around to get to know your family or your kids, or see the good and the bad, the ugly of you? Really look at what's behind that, because in reality, marriages are not built over the phone. They're just not. And I hate to see women who have those goals and those aspirations setting themselves up for another relationship that is going to lead to some disappointment, or you putting a lot of pressure on him to close the gap eventually, but you were okay with it initially. It's just better to explore who is local to you, explore who is close enough to see you on a regular basis without it being a heavy lift or a big deal or something they have to take time off work for or spend hours on the road or buy a plane ticket to do. You don't want it to be that much of a thing, you know, because as you like each other more, you're going to want to spend more time together. So you want that to be able to increase without it needing to be a phone call type situation. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if this has been you. You know, I know it's definitely been me. I've had some great connections with men who did not live near me, but thinking back, I was afraid at that time. I was a lot younger, and I was afraid to get to know men on that level. I was afraid of the pressure to be physically intimate. I had a young son, and I was living with my mom, and I didn't feel like I really had room to be in a real relationship. I was afraid of dating. I felt like a novice. I felt very much like an amateur and uncomfortable with real grown men. And when you think about me having that mindset, it makes sense why I would be drawn to men who lived anywhere in the country. And as long as I met someone that I could vibe with and hop on the phone and have great conversation with, I was good with that. That was good enough for me. But you just have to be honest that that's not really someone who's looking for marriage. That's someone who's just looking for a pen pal or companionship or someone to chit chat with, to boo cake on the phone. But you're not really looking for the deep, intimate relationship that leads to marriage, because that's going to require some FaceTime. That's going to require some vulnerability. And I wasn't ready for it at that time. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know if what I've shared resonated with you. Let me know how it made sense. I'd love to hear from you. Also, feel free to join my private Facebook group. You can find it at lovemeetslogic.com. It's called the Ladies Lounge, and I provide free coaching and advice in the group. You can also work with me one-on-one or in a group. I have a group program right now called Waiting to Wedded, and that's where I work with women on preparing them for wifehood and how to attract their husband, whether it's someone who's currently in their life, who's kind of hot and cold, or a brand new man. Then I also, as I mentioned, do offer various levels of working with me one-on-one. If that's something you're interested in, that would be a more high touch, more intimate type of guidance that I can give you one-on-one. And you can also check me out on my new website called femininelovecoach.com. It's a brand new site that I've just had designed. I'm really proud of it. It's really beautiful. And you can find the different ways to work with me there. Okay, so I love you all. Thanks so much for listening, and talk to you soon. Bye for now.